There are no sets of human rights for citizens that are separate and distinct from the human rights that accrue to refugees. At our Commission, we hold the view that national human rights institutions' involvement in the promotion and protection of the rights of refugees and host communities is at the heart of our work, as both have inherent human rights that must be respected, protected, and promoted.
Looking at what happened over the last years, decades with refugees, the approach of the government toward refugees was a security-based. But if you look for an integrated vision, you have to shift. You have to shift the way to much more a service delivery approach, to much more a creating an integrated, coherent community approach. And that in itself is going to take time, it's going to take a lot of effort. We will be there along the road, but we also depend on you to do that.
As of mid-2022, there were approximately 32.5 million refugees worldwide. Africa hosts around 30 million internally displaced persons, refugees and asylum seekers. Kenya is one of the largest refugee hosting nations in Africa, with a refugee population of 577,492. The legal framework in Kenya includes international instruments and the Refugees Act of 2021. Despite this, several challenges exist, such as limited awareness of rights, integration issues, and access to justice for refugees. Globally, the number of refugees is staggering, with millions seeking shelter and safety. In Kenya, the situation is no different, with thousands living in refugee camps. Integration is the key to bridging the gap between refugees and host communities.
In the event when this program was realized, or project for this case, RCK provided thought leadership on the refugee law, and the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights came in because of their value proposition of the human rights perspective in the lives and well-being of refugees. So it was more of a complementary, it was more of a value proposition between the two entities, and above all, it was to ensure the dignity, the voice, and the well-being of refugees is taken care of.
We are in agreement that there is a lot of need for advocacy on various issues that touch on refugees. I've heard of the different areas that the program is going to touch on, and maybe just to say that as a government, we are, as much as we have a responsibility in hosting refugees, as we also advocate for their rights, let us also tell them of their obligations, because we believe that as a host country, they are also obliged to know what are the laws of the land, what does the law say about their rights and also their obligations.
I was aware of some of the few rights, like for instance, a right to education, medication, and all that. But a right that I was not aware of, it is a freedom to speech, or even a right to leadership. Like for instance, the place where I am, women are not supposed to lead. Leadership are meant for men. But when I reached here, I came to know that we also as women, we have right to leadership, or even freedom of speech and movement. It's not difficult to integrate with the host community, as long as here in the Kalbie settlement or in the Kalbie settlement, we are comprises of two, that is a host community and refugee themselves. So it's not difficult, whereby when they are being taken to a place where they are being taken, like for instance, Kalbie, they have to let them know that in the place where we are taking you, it is an integrated settlement whereby you are going to stay with the host community. And also they need to know that there is always a coexistence between a host community and a refugee. And there is always an equal share between a host community and refugee, be it comes to the employment opportunity or even any other services being offered.
I, being the overall chairman, I have the neighborhood leaders, I have the compound leaders and Nyumbakumi leaders. In Hawa, we are receiving reports from the compound, from the Nyumbakumi, from the neighborhoods, and from the village. And therefore, all those reports that we are getting, being violent, being whatever it is, we have to forward it to the concerned authority.
Kutoka nyumbani haikukuwa safari ya furaha kwa sababu kulikuwa na matatizo ya vita ambavyo vilikuwa nyumbani kutoka 1996. So wakati ule kulipokuwa na vita, then ilibidi nitafute usalama pia, manake nchi imekuwa haina usalama. Na unajua nchi yoyote ukienda, wakati unafanikiwa kupata lugha yao, unapata kuadapt maisha yao na culture na mambo mengine, inakuwa rahisi kwa sababu tayari mnaelewana. Kwa hivyo ile uhusiano wangu wa ukaribu sana na Wakenya imenisaidia pakubwa sana kuweza kujua lugha na hata kuweza kuelewa tamaduni zao na hata kushirikia kutangamana na wao.
Mkimbizi kuajiriwa ni ngumu sababu ya document. Kupata kampuni itakuajiri ni ngumu, labda ufanye vibarua, na imekuwa shida, changamoto kubwa sababu watu take advantage ya kwamba hao wakimbizi yenyewe wanaweza, wana nguvu, lakini unajua hawana dokumenti na hakuna kitu mtu atakushtaki nacho eti ulikuwa umeniajiri, so anakuchukua kibarua.
Serikali itutafutie njia ama itupe vitambulisho vitakuwa vikitupa uwezo wa kupata zile service zingine wananchi wanapata, kwa sababu tunaishi nao. Kama msaada wowote kwa pamoja ukitokea, sisi tuko pamoja na wananchi, yani kwa kila njia.
Yani tuishi Kenya vizuri na Wakenya vizuri, na sisi tutambulike, tuchangie pia ushuru ya Kenya. Tufanye kazi, tupate KRA pin, tufanye kazi, work permit pia tutumike vizuri. Juu sisi pia tumesoma pia huko Kongo. Hata tukifika hapa Kenya pia tunataka tufanye kazi kama Wakenya, tuchangie pia uchumi ya Kenya iendelee mbele.
First of all, I would like to appreciate the work that Kenya National Commission on Human Rights and the government is doing to ensure that the refugee rights are enhanced, and also to fight for their rights. And I really want to appreciate the inclusion aspect, that they have started to include everyone in this fight and their struggle for their rights.
I have been in Kakuma for more than 20 years, and the life is more challenged. And you could find that the police that governs between refugees and host community, hata kama hujafanya makosa, you could find that wanakuja usiku, wanakubeba, wanakuchapa bure tu. You cannot feel comfortable because you'll feel like frustrated. You fear with police. Ukisikia tu police tu, yani unakimbia. Kwa sababu police kiingia, ajui mwenye kumefanya makosa na mwenye ako right. You could find that police are one of the threats, and that affect our mental health. If police should come, and also maybe in case of counseling, police can come in and maybe she can call security and block leaders so that peace can be among us.
The new Refugee Act has allowed the refugee community to operate within the counties they reside. For example, in Kakuma here, the refugees are now allowed to perform their functions across the county. We've been having sensitization programs to sensitize these communities, to understand that these are rights, these are privileges, and these are the limitations of our human rights. As much as we are giving them the basic human rights that are required, our constitution also gives them a right to live, right to be provided with food, protection. So that is why, if you are able to see now within the refugee camp, we've provided 11 police posts to provide the basic security for all of us, regardless of the population.
Remember, the government is the major duty bearer, tasked with the responsibility by constitution to protect the rights of everybody. So we will be engaging at the policy level, at the legislative level, and if there are any gaps that may come up as we implement this project, the Commission will bring them to the table of the relevant committees of Parliament so that then they are able to engage on that. The other area, how do we redress violations that occur among the refugees themselves and even with the host communities? So redressing those violations, applying the various alternative justice systems would be applied.
Kituo, one of our core mandate areas is forced migration. So we are specifically focused around ensuring that there's legal protection for forced migrants. This includes refugees and asylum seekers. And we do this in very many ways. One is that we train refugees and asylum seekers on their rights, the provisions, for example, of the Refugee Act, also the obligations that government has both internationally and regionally, so that they know if, for example, they're arrested, what would their rights be like. And so that also helps them to live in Kenya without a lot of kind of harassments. Then also we provide direct legal services. So if a refugee is arrested for being unlawfully present in Kenya or for any other kind of civil action, then we provide legal counsel. So our lawyers would be able to support the refugee to, in the court proceedings, so that they are not returned back to their home country, for example, if they have been charged with unlawful presence. So our legal services is for free. So they're able to walk in at any time and they would get support. And we've set up as well refugee justice centers, which are run by refugee-led organizations that have been trained by Kituo cha Sheria and also are mentored by Kituo cha Sheria. And these refugee justice centers are supposed to provide paralegal services to other refugees, and we build their mental health capacity as well. And we have seen that through that, fewer cases are coming to our offices.
If we improve the capacity of the duty bearers, and if the host communities and the refugees, legal assistance is provided to them. If we do advocacy for the implementation of the various laws, be it the Refugees Act, be it our various laws of the land, be it the Constitution, and if we empower these refugees and host communities to claim their rights, if they're able to report on violations, if they're able to identify that a violation has taken place, if they're able to know the channel where this should be taken, and they're able to access redress and issues of their mental health, both of refugees, host communities, and the duty bearers that work with them are improved, then we are going to have a culture of accountability on the part of the duty bearers that are providing services.
This was as a result of some of the problems and challenges the refugee and forcefully displaced populations have been encountering. One of them was issues to do with their rights, refugees not aware of their rights. Number two was also on issues to do with the participation and accountability of the duty bearers and other aspects such as mental health. We have the Alternative to Justice Act that can be used. Not all cases needs to be taken to courts. They can actually be dealt with at communal level. That is one. And among the refugees and issues of harmony, issues of coexistence, some of these can work. Then I just mentioned again the Mental Health Act, which is yet to fully be operationalized. But the most one that is very critical for us is the Refugee Act. And a good notice to it, recently there is a gazettement notice which now gives room for the implementation of the Refugee Act. So this is a huge plus, and this is an area of focus because it's really going to support a lot of refugee issues in this country.
The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights-led project, dubbed Haki na Ushirikiano, seeks to inspire dialogue, empathy and collaborative solutions for a society where everyone's rights are recognized and upheld. This includes the rights and freedoms of refugees and host communities and supporting their integration. Join us in our mission to create a society where everyone's rights are recognized and upheld. Together, we can make a difference.